From the Skyterra Wellness Retreat, this is the Inspired Intentions Podcast, where we help people build the skills and mindset to live a healthy life. Inspired Intentions listeners, welcome back again on this lovely Monday. We have a pretty ordinary episode for you today. I don't think you guys are going to learn anything.
You're not going to learn anything at all. Hi, everybody.
And that's the voice of Rachel Colosino. And you won't learn anything from me. Won't learn anything from Rachel. It's
You're not
pretty
going to
ordinary.
be inspired at all.
No inspiration.
Not from Inspired Intentions.
Not at all. Not even briefly.
No. And you know what? I dare to say you're not even going to look this person up on social media. And you will not be impressed by everything that's on her social media.
And you've never heard from this person before.
No. Nope.
They don't have a great story.
No.
They're not a past Skyterra guest. And their name is not
Leah Hope Mancuso.
That was all incredibly hurtful. Just kidding.
If you couldn't tell, we were being a bit sarcastic and facetious. And
Yes.
Leah's awesome.
Yes.
And you're back.
I'm back. I'm here. It feels like home. I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah. It feels a little bit more bright whenever you're here, Leah.
Oh, yes.
Got a big old
that's
smile when I
sweet.
saw you on Monday.
I'm just shining. I just bring a flashlight everywhere and I just fool people into thinking that there's this light. Yeah.
That's what it is.
And Leah, just in case there are listeners who don't know you, could you introduce yourself?
My name is Leah. I have been in the Lose Smart program at Skyterra 3 times before. This is my 4th time back here. And I, throughout the process of being in Lose Smart and when I first found Skyterra, I have spent the last 2 years on a health journey, just focusing on my health in every aspect, from mental, emotional, physical. And I've lost 200 pounds in that time. And Skyterra and the podcast have been a huge part of that, and just implementing habits that I can show up with every day. And that's what I love to share about. I want other people to know that it's possible for them to make these changes and go after the life that they want.
And we've been so inspired by you, Leah, just as a guest and just watching your journey. And listeners, Leah was on in July 2023. We actually recorded 2 episodes with her. Her and Alan recorded 2. And at that point, she talked about how she was a Inspired Intentions podcast super fan.
We were getting emails from Leah before Leah was even a Skyterra guest.
Yeah.
Listening to the podcast. I remember that very specifically.
Yeah.
I think I still have the emails.
Oh, I'm sure you do. Because I was like, I just started my health journey on my own at home. And I just asked some of the most random questions. Like, I remember Mitchell answered one for me that was about, like, is it okay if I split up my workouts throughout the day? Like, do I have to do 30 minutes at once, or can I do 10 minutes throughout the day? And it's like, do whatever you can. And I feel like that gave me permission to be like, oh, okay, so then I can get a walk in here and then a walk in there. And I asked the nutritionist about, like, how to stay hydrated. And I just knew nothing about anything health related or fitness related. And so I was like, you guys can tell me everything.
Yeah, I think that's a great time to interject. If you're at home and you're listening and you have a question, send me an email at inspiredintentions@skyterrawellness.com. I usually say it at the end of the podcast, and maybe people miss it, but you can send us emails and we'll answer questions. And who knows, you may end up on the podcast like Leah.
Yes, yeah. And then you have podcast episodes where you're saying, we're answering a question from Leah before we even met in person.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny, Alan, I know you and Leah talked about this last year, but we've been working on this podcast for a while. And sometimes it's hard to know. I mean, we can watch people listening and we see the reviews that come in, but to hear that we have a super fan feels really gratifying because it's a lot of work to put this together.
It is.
Yeah.
Week in, week out.
Yeah.
Every single Monday and sometimes Wednesdays.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Leah, we're so happy to have you back.
Yeah.
And we thought what we could do today is just start by getting an update on your journey. And, you know, one of the things that you talked about a year ago was just you kind of had this point in your life where you decided to make a change. And that happened at one of the happiest places on earth, supposedly, which is Disneyland.
Yeah.
So do you want to give us a summary of that and just kind of let us know where your journey has brought you today, a year later?
Yeah. Yes. So I did share about that I had like my rock bottom moment at Disneyland, where it was just not a great day with my nephew and my sister's family. I was just, I had no endurance and no energy and just did not have much to give that day. And that was really hard for me because being an aunt is really important to me and I want to be a great aunt. And so that was a big motivating factor in wanting to get healthy and focus on that part of my life. And so that was a little over 2 years ago. And then since I've been here last time, I have lost another 45, 50 pounds since then. And I was able to go back to Disneyland in November last year. And it was so amazing. I was like, oh, this is what, in my head, amusement parks were just like not fun. Like, I'm like, why do people like this? This is awful. This is exhausting.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't say I'm like an amusement park mega fan, but it is a very different experience when you have the energy and endurance, when I could just walk around and be like, oh, this just feels normal to do this much walking now. Like, yes, it's still more walking than you typically do most day to day mostly in your life. But there was nothing. I used to get exhausted just walking from like the parking lot into the entrance. And I'm like, oh my gosh, now I have the whole day ahead of me still. And then this time I actually walked from my hotel to the entrance, and it was like a 15-minute walk just to get in there. And normally that would have been, there's no way I would have done that before. And that was a breeze. And then I still had so much energy to give during my time there. And it was just, I could just be free to enjoy the moment and not be burdened by the capacity that I had to give at that time.
And you went with the whole family?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, my sister's family. And so then I have a new nephew now. So there's
congratulations.
2 of them. And yeah, they're my favorite people. And to be able to be a present aunt for them and play with them without, I couldn't do much like tag. And so now it's fun to be able to do that with them and just be the best version of myself for me and for the people in my life that I can be, because I have the capacity and the energy to do that now at a much healthier place.
They take so much energy. I've got 3 of them, and it's hard enough like when you just have one and they're hanging out. But when you get all 3 of them together, good Lord. Yeah.
It's a lot. Their energy just never stops. And then, but now I have it to get, and now I'll even like try to get him to play sometimes. If I'm like, oh, I didn't get a walk in today, like let's go play tag, let's go do, and I like use it as my movement for the day, and it's just so fun I just feel like there's so much more possibility now, even in the little things like that, and that has just been one of the most rewarding things.
What you're really doing is amping them up and then giving them back.
Yes, exactly. I don't have to. It's nice to have them for a time, and then here you go.
Yes. Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's so beautiful too, Leah. I know, Alan, one of the things you talk about when you teach Inspired Intentions is you're finding your why. And your why is just what you said, showing up, yes, healthy for yourself and healthy for the people in your life who are really important, like your nephews.
Yeah.
Just makes it so much more likely that you're going to find success like you have.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It triples your chance of success. A lot of folks, like your New Year's resolutioners, that never know or think about their why. They just think about the outcome. Way less likely to achieve that. I had to actually tell a story about a grandfather who just wanted to pick his granddaughter up as kind of like my example of somebody's reason why. And it's the same exact thing you're talking about. It's great.
Yeah. And I feel like people often say, like, you can't do it for anyone else. You have to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
And I understand that. So I think you can't do it in spite of anyone else. You can't do it to prove other people wrong or because someone else asked you to get healthy. But I think if you're doing it out of love for someone, I think that is beautiful, and that is that is often more of a motivating factor than our love for ourselves. If we can see, I love this person so much, I want to live healthy every day for them so that I can show up for them and be who they need me to be. I think that's a beautiful thing. And then, yes, obviously you want it to be for yourself too, but I think that's okay to do it out of love for other people too.
Because yes, of course you should love yourself as much as you love other people, but sometimes it can be hard. And so thinking about, this nephew or these nephews who I love so much, I want to be able to walk around and play with them and play tag with them and enjoy this day at Disney.
Yes. And my favorite part is that my nephew, he's 5 now, and he would have no clue that I've lost 200 pounds. He really wouldn't know. His parents, showed him a picture, and he was like, oh, that's what she used to look like. He just didn't even realize. But he does realize that I'm able to do more now. He recently, a few months ago, he had built a fort, and it's hard for me. I'm still in the mindset of oh, I won't be able to fit. I won't be able to do that. It's hard. I went from 15 to 20 years of being in this so much larger body and just saying oh, I wouldn't be able to make that work. And he built this fort, and he invited me in it, and I was like, oh, I think I'm a little too big. And he goes, well, you've lost all this weight now, so you could try. And I tried, and I hung out in the fort with him, and we were reading in the fort, and I was like, oh, wow, I wouldn't have even tried, but then I could fit, and we were just hanging out in there, and it was great. But he doesn't care what I look like. He just cares that I can do more stuff with him now, and that's what it's about.
And I love how blunt kids are. And
Yes.
their logic, you know what I mean? He was just flat out why not just try?
Yeah. They are blunt. I did also have one kid at a photo shoot tell me the alternative. He was like, you've gained weight since the last time I saw you. I was like, that is true.
Oh.
That's just, they're going to be honest. And he didn't say it in a mean way. He was just like, this is a fact. And I was like, yeah, that is a fact. And I don't know. I kind of like it. I'm like, because when adults say things like that, it typically is in a judgmental way. But I don't see it as judgmental from a kid. They're just saying it, and you can accept it for what it is, and then keep going from there.
They don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
Okay, Leah, the last time you were on, you and Alan had just gotten back from a ziplining trip.
Yes.
And you were about to go kayaking, and those were two things that you had never done before, ever.
Yeah.
And you were kind of enjoying being able to do that.
Yes. Yeah. I did. Last summer when I was here, it felt like my first summer here felt like work. Not like work, but I was very, it was about learning how to strength train and working out with trainers for the first time and learning nutrition and all of this stuff. I was very focused on gaining as much knowledge and information and healthy habits as I could. And then the last summer that I was here, I was like, now I want to soak up what I've been doing and do things that I wasn't able to do before because of actual weight limits that these things have, or because I was too insecure or afraid to try them. And so, yes, I did ziplining, and that was amazing. And then kayaking, and I loved that. That was a beautiful day. And then I also went horseback riding. And so it just felt like I got to do what I love is that, I enjoyed horseback riding and kayaking, and after them, I wasn't like, oh, I need to do this again, right? I do want to zip line again. That's I want to go zip lining again.
We can make it happen.
Yes, yeah. But it's not about, it's about having the option. I just didn't have these options before, and so that's what this has been to me, is about freedom to choose. And maybe I'll try something and be like, yeah, I don't really need to go horseback riding again or whatever it is. But at least I get to make the choice now instead of my size or my weight or my energy making the choice for me.
Alan, I actually have a question for you. You see a lot of our guests who are in experiences for the first time. Do you remember watching Leah when she was ziplining for the first time and what you saw?
It's been a minute, but yeah, there's some moments like that are hard to forget. And it honestly, the ziplining, out of all the things we do, I get to see the nervous tiptoe up to that first line. You remember walking up?
I was a lot more scared than I thought I was going to be.
Everybody is because where we go, you start on basically their back porch. You get out of the vehicle, and the ground is perfectly level, and you walk into this beautiful facility, but the back porch is where you start at. So it's like level with the ground from where you get out of the bus. You don't have to like climb up or anything,
Yeah.
but you walk the tips of your toes to the edge and you're looking straight down where you're headed for the next one. And you were nervous.
I was, and I really, because I'm not afraid of heights. I'm not. It was still about, I was like, I asked like 3 times. I was like, are you sure this is the weight limit?
Yes.
Like, are you sure this can hold me? I was just scared it was just going to collapse and drop. And I was like, you literally just lift your legs up and then you're
sit.
flying through
That
the
was
air.
it. Walk up, just sit down. Yeah.
I was a lot more nervous. And Alan recorded. I have videos of me being like, okay, I just go. Are you sure?
Yep, I did. And then
Yes.
I think I switched places and I got one video because I go last. Like I let all the guests go first. And I kind of record them all taking off if they want me to. But I got another video of you coming down where I went first on another line.
Yeah.
And you were just like the joy in your face and the happiness after it kind of all set in was that you were just enjoying the experience, you know? And I think that's a beautiful thing.
I loved it so much. It took a couple to get the nerves out. And then once I did, I was like, oh, I just want to keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like there's 11 lines that you do, and I think I got that video was on like number 5.
Yeah.
So not even halfway through, you were loving it.
It was fun. I want to do it again.
Yeah, we can make it happen.
So, Leah, ziplining, kayaking, horseback riding, anything else new that you've done?
Adventure. Well, this is a different kind of adventure, but I started dating.
Yeah.
And the thing with that's not new. That's not something that I wasn't able to do before. I just wasn't at a place where I felt comfortable doing it. I knew it's not even just about my body or my size. I knew that I had this whole area of my life that I was not taking care of. And I didn't feel right trying to enter into a relationship knowing that I'm neglecting this whole part of my life that I have also figured out affects all of the areas of your life. I think I very much tried to tell myself my whole life that physical is its own thing, and at least I can work on myself mentally and emotionally, and then surprise, like they're all tied together and they all feed off of each other. And when you work on one, it can help them all just as much as when you neglect one, it can hurt them all.
Right.
And I knew that. I knew that I wasn't fully taking care of myself, and I didn't feel right trying to enter a relationship then. So I finally feel like I was at a place where I'm healthy, mind, body, and spirit, and all the things, and wanted to start sharing my life with someone potentially. And so, I started dating and was able to, I think for part of it, I've had people ask me too online, like, what do you think that they wouldn't have, anyone that I were to date now, do you think they wouldn't have been with you at your bigger size? And I get the question, and I think of that too, but I don't think it's a fair question because I wouldn't have let someone love me at that other size. I wouldn't have let them be in my life. I wouldn't have been comfortable being around them. I wouldn't been authentically myself with them. And so it doesn't really matter if they would have or not because I wasn't at the capacity to let that happen at that time. So it's been fun and interesting to start dating for the first time ever in my life. It was at 34 years old.
Yeah.
And it's been a journey, but it's been good. And just why not? In the last 2 years, like why not add one more huge thing in there for me? Like it wasn't enough change. Losing 200 pounds and starting to share on social media, and so let's like throw in this whole relationship thing.
And it's going okay?
It is, yes. Yeah. It's going great. And I'm so thankful that I put myself out there in that way. Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Took that one first big step.
Yes.
It's a huge step.
It is, and it's intimidating, and it's just a lot. Yeah.
I like just to pull back from one thing that you said, just, we talk about in one of our classes, just like the wellness side of things. as a life account. I don't know if you remember talking about
Yes,
those and some of the stuff. And one of them, you touched right on it. It's the physical, mental, and emotional piece, and that they all work so closely together. And you can try and like overcome the other two or other one with different, like putting a lot of energy into one of those pieces, but they all have to balance out.
Yeah.
If you're not investing in all of them, it doesn't work.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just didn't want to believe that because I wanted an excuse to neglect my physical health and also honestly feel like I was slightly superior in the other way. Like, okay, so maybe I'm neglecting my physical health, but I read all these books and I journal all the time and I get advice from people and I'm open and honest, and I tried to let that compensate for the neglect of my physical health. And if anything, throughout this journey, I've realized this has been so much more of an emotional and mental journey than a physical journey, which is not what I thought I was signing up for. So it was a surprise, but it's been good because then that's truly what I wanted, to get healthy from the inside out. And that includes all of the aspects of health. Yeah.
So that is a perfect segue, Leah, because one of the things that you talked about a year ago was these mindset shifts.
Yes.
And so we want to talk about those specifically. But before we do that, you mentioned your social media, and we should have done this in the beginning. We'll do this again at the end, and we will tag you in the show notes. But for anyone looking for your journey, how do they find you online?
They can find me at Leah Hope Health is my username on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and I started sharing my journey online a year ago, which was a year into my journey as well. And I just wanted other people to know that what has been possible for me is possible for them too. And so that's why I decided to start sharing and hoping that I could help people and spread a little bit of that hope to other people.
That's such a beautiful reason to do social media.
Yeah, because it can be an overwhelming place.
Yeah.
And there is some not great things about it as well.
Yeah.
But I think if you can look at it objectively and say, but it's worth all of this. And that's what I've experienced too. Like, I do have some criticism with the things that I post online, but it's, in comparison, it's overwhelmingly positive and encouraging. And that's what makes it worth it. And being able to have people say, like, you're the reason I started walking again, or you're the reason that I got started focusing on my healthy habits. Or I've talked to other people who are like, I'm an aunt too, and my nieces and nephews are so important to me, and I want to play with them. And that's worth all the criticism that comes with it for me.
Block out the haters.
Yes. Yes.
We reject you, haters.
Rejected.
Leah, one of the things you've talked about is how you are so curious. And, we've talked about that with the questions that you send into the podcast. And so let's go to kind of these mindset shifts that have worked for you and what has continued to work for you, and kind of what has been your own personal research behind your journey.
Yeah. Well, a big part of the mindset shifts, it started with listening to this podcast. Before I even ever came here for the first time, I booked my stay at Skyterra, and I started listening to the podcast, and that's what helped me make a lot of the mindset shifts and accept. I feel like there was a period of acceptance of being like, okay, I have to make these mindset shifts if I want this to be lasting. Because, I mean, anyone can go on an extreme diet, or even not an extreme diet, and lose weight in a certain amount of time. But if you haven't built the habits, you're not going to sustain that weight loss. You're not going to keep it up, or it's not going to be in a healthy way for you. And so the mindset shifts are definitely the key to it all, I would say. And so one of the most important ones is getting rid of all or nothing thinking. I had a very all or nothing mindset before. Every time I had tried a diet or tried to get healthy in the past, it was all or nothing to the extreme of, if I don't have time to work out today, then I might as well just drive through fast food and get this food. Like, it really was, if I can't do everything that I planned, then I'm going to do nothing. And then I heard someone say, I don't remember where I heard this, but they said, shift all or nothing for all or something. And so it's like, maybe you can't do all of it that day, but you can do something. You could walk for 5 minutes, and it seems silly, but that's what is building the habit in your life. And that's what it's about. If you truly want a lifestyle change, it is about changing the things that you do every day and changing your daily habits. And that's through repetition, consistency, showing up in some way every day. It doesn't mean you have to show up in the same way every day, but you can show up with whatever you have to give that day. And that shift of going from all or nothing to all or something was super helpful. And then another one, speaking of if you want it to be your lifestyle, another one is accepting that it's a lifestyle change and not a diet, because a diet is temporary. A diet has an end date. And honestly, that was a struggle for me at the beginning. I was like, I would start walking and I'm like, I have to do this for the rest of my life. That sounds awful. Like, I do not want to do this for the rest of my life. But I knew that the life I wanted included these habits and had the person in my dream future has a healthy body and is able to do things and wants to take a walk every day and wants to eat nutritious meals every day. And so I really had to shift my focus from I am doing this for this amount of time until I get to this weight or this size or whatever it is, and say, no, like this is the future that I want for myself, and these are the habits that this future version of me has. So I should start implementing those habits now and focus on that. And then the last mindset shift that I feel like is so important. I get asked so often, how do you stay motivated? And my answer is that I don't.
Right.
I am not motivated. Like I rarely wake up and I'm like, yay, like I am going to go do strength training today and I'm going to go take a walk and the only thing I actually get excited for is pickleball. And I love pickleball. I played pickleball for the first time here.
You've come so far from that day.
Yes. Oh, I did not love it that day.
No.
Yeah.
It was
that
hot.
First day. Yeah.
It was like hot and muggy in that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not think I was going to like it, but then I grew to love it. And it's the only like activity, like physical activity that I actually crave and want to do. Aside from that, I would say sometimes I enjoy taking walks and hikes, but I'm not as excited to do that as I am excited to do other things. It's not about like, yes, I'm so inspired today, so I'm going to do this. It's a matter of choosing discipline over motivation. Because motivation is a feeling, but discipline is a choice. And I think that's what it comes down to, accepting that are you motivated every day to brush your teeth or to take a shower? Like, no, but you do it because you just need to do those things. And that is how I view physical fitness now. And it's not, and physical health with eating nutritiously and everything. And it's not in a punishment way. It's not like, oh, I have to do this. It's because I know I'm going to feel better after. I know it's going to be good for me. But that doesn't mean that I want to do it right before, but I can still make the choice to do it. Like we have a lot of power, and I think this might sound a little harsh, but I think waiting for motivation to come is being a little bit of a victim in your own life, when you do have the choice to choose discipline and to choose how you follow through that day, whether or not you're motivated or inspired to.
And I think your second point, out of those three, I like to point out, we kind of talk about it at an angle of like identity. You know what I mean? Like you see yourself as a type of person.
Yes.
Did that play a role in your mindset around all of your change?
Yeah, absolutely. That was something that I heard on the podcast, was to focus on the habits and an identity shift rather than the specific results. Because if you are focusing on those habits and if you're focusing on becoming this person, the results are going to come.
Right.
But if you're results focused, then you're not really paying attention to what matters most, which is becoming a healthier, better version of yourself. You're just focused on the outcome rather than the process
your
too.
goals.
And the process is such a huge part of actually changing your identity so that it is lasting and sustainable.
Yeah, it's like, how are you ever going to, like, I want to run a marathon, but
Yeah.
I'm not a runner.
Right.
Are you going to most likely
Just go
cross
run.
that finish line?
Yeah.
It's probably not. But
Yeah.
if you're like, I'm the type of person that gets up and walks, or I'm the type of person that could run.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm the type of person that feels like X, Y, or Z thing that you want to achieve. You're way more likely to reach your goals. And I think that that's a really important piece, because a lot of folks start with the outcome. They're like, it'd be great to get here. It would be great to cross that finish line. And then that's what they try to use for motivation. It just doesn't work out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to reflect on too, Leah, just kind of that all or nothing, all or something thinking. You said that acceptance of what we have to give each day is different. And I thought that it just is so powerful in such a really simple way, that idea of like, you know what, some days I don't sleep well because I have a stiff neck. Or some days, I didn't hydrate as well the day before, and then I'm not going to feel like doing all the things that I quote unquote should be doing.
Yes.
And so just giving yourself grace and accepting that, it's just about doing something. It doesn't have to be the same every day, because how you feel is going to be different based on an infinite number of factors.
Yes, absolutely. And not just physical factors, but also depending on what is going on in your life. If there are emotional things that are heavy, or you're struggling mentally, all of that plays into how much of yourself you have to show up with that day. And alongside how I said that discipline is a huge piece of it, so is grace. And I feel like it has been a learning balance of discipline and grace throughout this process, because beating yourself up about not showing up in the way you plan to show up, or the way you thought you could, like, that's not getting you anywhere either. Like, that's just wasting time, and if anything, bringing you further down, because then you have less of the emotional or mental health to show up with. And so I think if there's a day where you say, I can't do my 30-minute walk today, but I can do a 10-minute walk, and allowing yourself to do that and be okay with that, and knowing you're still showing up in the capacity that you have to show up with that day, and just giving yourself the grace to do that, I think that makes such a big difference, because we can just be so hard on ourselves when we have a specific goal in mind. We want to reach that goal, but if the goal is ultimately a lifestyle change, then it doesn't matter how fast you get there. And so you can give yourself the grace to go at your own pace and not overdo it. Like, it has also been a balance of learning to push myself but not overextend myself. And I feel like that's something I learned the first time that I was here. In the Loose Smart program, was learning that balance of like, okay, like, it's good to do things that are hard and to be sore for a few days. But I don't want to overdo it to where I feel like I have nothing left to give the next day. And so I think it's just a process of really getting to know yourself in that way.
How do you balance? So you are a busy woman. You're an auntie.
Yeah.
You have a full-time job. You own your own business. You're a photographer.
Yeah.
How do you're very active on social media with a lot of people who follow you. How do you balance all of it? Do you have any tips for listeners on things that you have found that help kind of streamline things, or hacks that make things take a little bit less time?
Yeah. I think a big part of the mental piece of that is what I just touched on, which is accepting, like, I have all these things going on in my life, and maybe I can give this amount of time to this thing on this day, and then no time to it to the next day, and just being realistic with what I think so often it's easy for us to like make these plans for the day, and then we have 10 things on a list and we actually get 2 done, and then we're being hard on ourselves because we didn't get it done, and it's carrying over to the next day. And so I think being realistic is really important to all of your responsibilities and everything you have going on in your life, and like, what can you actually do that day, and what is priority. And I do try to keep exercise, eating nutritiously as a priority, not because I'm being overly strict with myself, but because I believe that those things are going to affect how I can show up the rest of the day. Because if I get a walk in or if I eat a healthy breakfast, that is going to make me feel so much better to give the rest of the capacity that I have left to my other responsibilities, to my job. And so I think that's really important. And knowing yourself in terms of, if you don't like cooking, like, don't plan to cook for 2 hours for dinner. Like, I know we have these ideas of the person we want to be, and that's great, but it's also okay to say, that's not me. And so I'm going to put some cottage cheese in a bowl and put some granola and berries on it and say, this is a healthy and nutritious meal that took me 5 minutes to put together.
Yeah.
And that's okay. If you enjoy cooking, then schedule in time for cooking. But there's nothing wrong with just knowing yourself and knowing, maybe that works for someone else and that's great for them, but we are all different and we all need different things, and that's okay. And you can show up as a better, stronger, healthier version of yourself the more aware of that you are.
I love that. You love your cottage cheese.
I do. It's so easy. That's what I want. I just want easy. And I know that about myself. I know that if I turn it into a big thing and I'm like, oh, I have to cook this and chop all these things, and I'm not going to want to do it.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go drive through fast food or like heat up a frozen meal or something. So I'm like, if I can at least do 5 minutes of this healthy meal, or like eggs. Eggs are so fast and easy, but still healthy for you.
Yes.
And so I think just learning little things like that and making sure it's foods that you enjoy too, because that is important. There's nothing that I have not forced myself to eat anything throughout this journey. Like, I enjoy the foods that I eat. And so I think that's part of the learning process too, is experimenting. Like, let yourself experiment and not have to do things exactly as you thought they should be or as they are for someone else, but just accepting where you're at while trying to become a healthier version of yourself with that grace as well.
Have you heard of scrambled oats?
Scrambled?
Have you heard of?
No.
Are you blending eggs and oats?
Apparently, it's awesome. So Lydia's
Oh.
gone on this kick because she loves cottage cheese too,
Yeah.
and she'll make scrambled oats with cottage cheese and eat it. And she says it's like a pancake-esque.
Wait,
type
are you saying
oats.
there's eggs, oats, and cottage cheese? I do sometimes put cottage cheese in my eggs, in my scrambled eggs.
I don't remember exactly how she makes it, but it looks delicious when she shows me.
Have you had it, Ellen?
No, she hasn't made it for me yet, but it's.
Well, you could make
she's
it for
usually making
yourself.
breakfast by the time I'm at work. So it's like scrambled eggs with oats in a pan, right? And then you add seasonings like, cinnamon or whatever to it. And then you take that out, and it's like in pancake form almost, kind of maybe a little crunchy. And then you put your cottage cheese on it, and then your berries on top of that. And then, it's got banana in it. That's the other thing. So you mash banana up with the egg and the oats, and it holds it all together, and apparently it's delicious.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did she make it up, or is that like a thing?
She probably saw it on TikTok somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's got lots of ideas. That's interesting.
Try it.
I'll have to try that.
Let me know what you think.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
I did want to point out one thing that just like, honestly, like I'm just kind of zooming back here and just listening to you talk and enjoying every second of it. When did your health journey start? If you had to put like a date to it.
I would say late March 2022.
2022. And
I booked my Skyterra stay on my birthday, March 25th, in 2022.
And it's basically April is 2024.
Yes, yeah.
Would you have thought basically 2 years ago that you would be sitting here and able to talk to us in the way that you're talking to us right now, telling us about not just your journey, but even just like your expertise on mindset? You know what I mean? Like people are going to listen to this and be able to take things away as you did when you listened with us years ago. But it's just been 2 years, right?
Yeah.
That's not that long a time.
It somehow feels so short and so long
Right.
all at the same time, which is always what I say when I'm at Skyterra. The time goes by so fast and so slow at the same time. It's a weird, like, time is weird here. I don't know how to explain it, but no, I would not have thought that. Honestly, I didn't let myself think about it. Like, I feel like I didn't let myself think about where it was going, because I had tried multiple times in the past and it was never successful and didn't last, and then it was just disappointing. But I let myself think about it a little this time by including other people, asking for accountability, and I think that is actually a big part of what helped me, because every other time I tried in the past, I did not ask for accountability because I wanted to quit whenever I wanted to, and I didn't want to disappoint someone else, but I'm fine disappointing myself. Like, that's okay. But as long as I don't disappoint someone else. So this was the first time I went into it with accountability, and I think that's what made a really big difference for me, and allowed myself to talk about the possibility and think about where this could go. But no, I would have never thought I would actually be here talking on the podcast that I wrote in questions to. And yeah, it's wild.
You're able to sit here and be able to tell people and talk about your journey, but also give them hope and give them inspiration at the same time. A short 2 years later, you know, we say like this whole thing, it's a process. It takes time. It takes sometimes long time, sometimes however long it is for somebody. It doesn't happen in a week. It doesn't happen in 2 weeks. It doesn't happen in a month. But 2 years later, it's like a whole different picture, right?
Yeah, it is so much. Yeah, my life is completely different than it was 2 years ago. And it's so much better than, even if I let myself think about the possibility, then it wouldn't have been as great as it actually is, living it and just feeling free and able. Like, I just feel so much more able to do the things that I want to do. And that's
it.
Priceless. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
We're so inspired by you, Leah, and just so proud that you're part of the Skyterra family, and just so grateful that you're here and willing to share all of your expertise and your journey with us. Is there anything else you want to share with our listeners, or anything you want to say?
I would just say, I think I said this before, but I really want people to know that it's possible for them too, because I was that person listening to the podcast and watching video transformations of people, and just in my head I was just thinking, oh yeah, that's great for them, or like, oh, it's possible for them for this reason, or it's easier for them for this reason. I never really knew if it would be my story and my journey. And so I just really, like, I am just the same as everyone else. Like, I really, really am. I don't think that there is anything special about me in this way. I think I'm special in other ways. I think
You are special.
But in regards to getting healthy and losing weight, and like, there's nothing special about, like, I just am someone who decided I don't want to keep living this way. And I started making changes very slowly, small changes. I gave myself permission to start small, that it didn't have to be this big thing. And I just went for it from there. And I wouldn't be sharing online in this vulnerable way if I didn't think it was possible for other people. That's the only reason why I'm sharing. Like, I wouldn't have put myself out there if I couldn't share that information with other people and help them know that it's possible for them too.
Gotcha.
And tell us again how we find you on social media.
Leah Hope Health is my username on most of the social media platforms. Yes, yeah. So that's how you can find me, and I just try to share openly about my journey and the process, and talk to people when I can, and
Yeah, if you follow our social media, you can find Leah too. She's on there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Leah, thank you so much for
Thank
doing
you.
this today.
Once
Thank you
again,
for having me.
get to go sign the door again. Put another date on there.
Yes.
A new date.
A
Yeah.
new date. Hopefully we left some room below.
There is.
There's
I
some
think-
room around your name.
Yeah. Well, you've had so many people here,
Yeah.
so you just the door's getting full with names.
And if you're okay with it, we'd love to have you back on in the future so that we
Yeah.
can hear even more about your exciting life.
Of course, I would love that.
Thank you so much, Leah. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Rachel.
Anytime.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
The Inspired Intentions podcast is a production of Skyterra Wellness Retreat. Special thanks to our executive producer, Alan Broyhill. Send us your questions and comments to inspiredintentions@skyterrawellness.com. Subscribe on iTunes and everywhere podcasts can be found. If someone you know might benefit from this podcast, share Inspired Intentions with them and give us a 5-star rating. Join us next week as we cut through the unrealistic noise on diets and fitness and show you how healthy living fits seamlessly into your already busy life. Thanks for listening.